Marcil, the girl boss, girl failure that makes Dungeon Meshi a lot more fun to watch. Though she's the resident monster cuisine hater, she's also the most emotionally open person in the entire show. In a show that has a lot to do about trauma, monsters, and surviving ordeal after ordeal, Marcil shows us the emotional side of this world more often than pretty much any other character. She shows how deeply she loves her friends and party members, how much she's willing to sacrifice in order to protect them. She's the one character that will always be honest in a world that values hidden agendas and motivations. Marcil is, in my opinion, the strongest character in the show because of who she is and how she acts. Though obviously, in combat power she is still strong enough to fend off a lot of things like Thistle's onslaught of blood dragon whelps, she's not the single most powerful in the entire world. There are obviously people who have stronger spells and mana pools that are much larger, or a fancy book with blood magic that can summon monsters. But strength is not measured only in combat abilities, it's measured in character. And in that, Marcil is in abundance. She is by far one of, if not the most compelling character we have seen so far. From her past with Fallen in the Magic Academy where they hung out and low-key flirted with each other, to her interpersonal relationships with other party members. Not to mention her ability to deal with dire situations with both raw emotion and crystal clear focus. It shows that her character has a depth deeper than any dungeon. I know, I'm hilarious. Marcil is a knowledgeable and powerful mage that has known Fallen since their days in the Magical Academy. After Laios left the army and came by the Magical Academy where Marcil and Fallen were living, Fallen left with Laios and traveled to the island where they formed their now dungeon party. Marcil, shortly after, followed them to the island and yelled at Laios, but ultimately joined the dungeon party. From then on, they worked together and got to the dungeon level where the Red Dragon lived, and if you watched episode 1, you saw what happened to our girl Fallen and everybody else. Since then, Marcil has been a loyal and kind ally to Laios and the other party members, and felt extra motivated to go save Fallen. Now, here's where one of the first times I really noticed Marcil's complex emotional side starting to show. When she tells Laios about Namari and Shuro leaving the party, she seems very disheartened, hurt, and like she shrunk into herself when she realizes that they were really leaving that quickly. Though she motivated herself to go back into the dungeon with Laios and Chilchuk, you can tell losing two people who were comrades and even people she would consider friends really affected her. Now, when it comes to characters that I love, I fall into the camp of characters who try their best at every given moment, even when they fail or look stupid. And I say stupid with quotations. Marcil really strikes me as someone who would genuinely ask you, "Are you mad at me?" with tears and snot because she's so worried you hate her. I love that genuine display of connection she feels with other people, even if they don't share the same intensity with her. Marcil is strong because of her heart. She is the glue that keeps everybody together and reminds them of what matters. Marcil understands the dangers ahead of them, the importance of what a party means while in the chaos of the dungeon, and the strength it takes to persevere through any ordeal. When the party lost Fallen, she was worried, but she didn't stop or leave her party behind. She told Laios she would join him to get Fallen back, knowing it would mean they would have to fight the Red Dragon again without the two frontliners that they just lost. Even with Laios, who we can see be whimsical and somewhat distant with the threat of losing Fallen to the Red Dragon's metabolism, he had to not think about it to be able to keep moving forward in the dungeon. Only when Fallen was brought back by Marcil and with the group did he relax and was able to decompress from all that emotional turmoil. Though that didn't last long thanks to Thistle. Marcil, in a similar situation of distraught, was the one who was able to bring back Fallen thanks to her knowledge and studies in ancient magic. As soon as they found the remains inside of the dragon, Marcil panicked and grieved before realizing that she could do something. That she would do something. She asked for permission to bring Fallen back to life, and Laios gave it to her. And he listened to every step she needed help with to make sure that this would work. To me, this displays the duality of being a very emotional character like Marcil. Imagine losing someone you love so dearly, sharing that hurt with someone they loved just as much, and then using those feelings to do something that would bring that person back to you. In comparison to someone like Thistle, Marcil's intentions are pure enough. Fallen died, but Marcil can bring her back at the cost of being ostracized by people for using ancient magic. Meanwhile, Thistle, who was unable to cope with the death of the royal family and his loved ones, forced his powers to make sure that nobody could die ever again, even when they didn't want it. Even after bringing Fallen back to life, Marcil never stopped looking out for her, constantly checking her condition, watching for signs of any issues, good or bad, like how Fallen magically blocked the explosion Senshi caused. And she stayed by her side, so she never had to be alone again. One of my favorite scenes was in the bath with Marcil and Fallen, where Marcil was explaining and joking with Fallen that she shouldn't feel bad that they cared so much to come save her, kind of making the struggles and fights that they've been through up until now seem like no big deal because it all worked out in the end. To me, this shows Marcil wants to make sure Fallen doesn't feel guilty about their choices to come save her. Marcil's strength isn't just in her magic, it's in her unwavering heart. She carries the weight of loss, the burden of responsibility, and the risks of forbidden power, yet she never falters when it comes to protecting the people she loves. Unlike Thistle, who let grief consume him, Marcil channels her emotions into action, never letting despair dictate her choices. Through her compassion, resilience, and selfless devotion to her friends, she proves that true strength isn't just about power. It's about the will to keep moving forward, even through the hardest of trials. When compared to a lot of the characters we have seen, Marcil is an honest and open person. We've known this since episode 1. Like my comparison before about Thistle, Marcil is someone who is very thoughtful about other people, especially her loved ones. She uses that love to push herself to help and protect them from whatever threat is coming at them. Her ultimate goal, outside of saving Fallen, is to learn ancient magic so that she can better understand it and use it to help the world at large. Now, as someone who loves One Piece and the themes of freedom it presents in a bunch of different aspects in the show, I really love that this is her goal as a mage. To challenge the world by studying these taboo arts, taking from them, and maybe changing it so that it can be useful for others. We've already seen her do that with her stunt with bringing Fallen back to life. In retrospect, you have other characters that are fine with the status quo when we first meet them, like Thistle, Shuro, Mr. Tansu, and the king of the island where the dungeon's at. There's a lot of peace and profit in letting a dungeon and dungeon adventurers come and go within the island. But that doesn't mean leaving a dungeon full of monsters unsolved won't become a problem later. Look at what happened with Kaburu's hometown. Characters that are too stubborn or stuck in their ways to properly connect with others, understanding them, cherishing them, and respecting them, leaves them stagnant. Marcil understands change. She understands love and loss, and she understands the way magic and nature can work thanks to her studies and experiences with Fallen in the Academy. It's because of those experiences that we see Marcil be a driving force in how the story progresses. She's the skilled mage that can fight off Thistle's monsters and bring the dead back to life. She's the friend that you can rely on in a tough situation to help guide you on the right path. She's the warmth that makes you feel like you belong. Now, for Season 2, I think she's going to be one of the key party members to successfully deal with Thistle and possibly freeing the Winged Lion. She has been so important in the series so far, and along with Laios, I think she will be the one to cause a big change in the order of how the dungeon is working. Maybe it'll be a fight with Thistle, or taking out the Winged Lion so they could double team Thistle. But I think she's going to be a huge factor in the future of how the series plays out. Now, something that I think also could come up is the Canaries. Seeing Shuro's reaction to ancient magic and how powerful and strict the elven culture has been shown and described by other characters makes me think that they're going to start a fight with Marcil. They'd probably try to target the party or Fallen if Thistle is either dealt with or busy, because that would be the easiest way to get to Marcil. I'm pretty sure I heard that Season 2 was going to be the final season for Dungeon Meshi, considering that the series is done in the manga. They might just compact the entire rest of the show into this last season. So if that's true, I'm sure we'll see how everything plays out. I wouldn't expect that the dungeon or Thistle to be left standing by the end of the series, but how it wraps up, I have no idea. With all the possibilities ahead of us, all I know is that Marcil has impressed me the most out of everybody in the show. From all the times she has saved the party from mortal danger to the levity and warmth she brings to her friends, Marcil has shown me that her true strength is the will to move forward with everything she has in the name of love. Like how I described Senshi in my video, without Marcil, the series would suffer greatly. The depth of her emotional intelligence and willingness to do whatever it takes to save the ones she loves is a breath of fresh air in a series that has a lot of characters that are just jaded by adventuring, either stoic or unwilling to open up. Without her, we'd miss out on a lot of comedy and truly heartwarming and heartbreaking moments that allow us to connect with the characters, their traumas, and their struggles as people. In my eyes, Marcil is the epitome of strength, and it's not even close. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Marcil has been one of my favorite characters in the series, and I knew she deserved to be talked about. Like I said in my tier list video, she's right up there with Laios as my #1 character. The depth of emotion, action, and complexity in their personalities makes them impossible not to be invested in them. After everything Marcil has been through, losing Fallen, losing friends, forcing herself to eat monsters, constantly throwing herself into life or death situations to save the party, and then losing Fallen again, I just want to see her shine. She's been through hell, and knowing how deep things are getting, I can't help but worry for her and her safety. I hope the story gives her the ending she deserves, because to me, Marcil has been carrying this series for the longest time. We love you, Queen. Stay strong out there. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Let me know what you think of Marcil in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.